The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us for this webinar. My name is Ben Garfinkel and I'm a Strategy Director and Principal at Industrial Brand, a brand strategy and consulting firm. I'm joined today by partner and our Managing Director, Mark Bussey.
Hello everyone, thanks for spending time with us today.
We're going to get started in a moment. We know everyone's busy, so we'll stick to our promise to finish within an hour. Just before we start, I want to bring your attention to the questions window on your screens. If you have questions for us, just type them in and we'll do our best to get them in. Also, note the chat window where we'll be posting some relevant links as we go. So today, recently Mark gave a talk about specialization to the Industrial Designer Society of America conference in Austin, Texas. We felt it might be of interest and value to share this with a broader audience, especially as many of our AEC clients seem to be wrestling with the idea of a focused practice in their own businesses as industries, markets, and the economy continues to change. So today, we'll share some of what we learned, the benefits of specialization, how it can be done properly, and why you don't necessarily have to give up your bread and butter clients. First, let me just quickly tell you a little bit about who we are. Industrial Brand began 17 years ago as a full-service communication and digital design studio working for a wide range of clients, from local startups and restaurants to large corporations and multinational brands and retailers. We've been providing brand strategy and communication design to a myriad of clients with an increasing focus on AEC for the last 5 years. We design books for publishers, packaging for food and beverages, album covers for musicians, annual reports for corporations, and catalogs for manufacturers. Basically, we were design whores. But as the years progressed, we gained confidence and knowledge and started to focus on brand strategy, naming and identity design, and its role in organizational change. We found this work very rewarding, and it paid well when we could get it. The trick is how to get it with so many in that space.
Wow, has it been 17 years, Ben?
It's hard to believe.
That's amazing. So let's start with a story. Sorry for being crass here, but it really was my shit or get off the pot moment. I'll never forget, I was at our local design association chapter meeting. It was our AGM, in fact. The room was packed and filled with designers. There were young and old, students and old experts running studios. And on stage, we had brought a well-known graphic designer from Chicago, someone who even today is quite famous in the industry in North America. And he was giving the crowd the usual short portfolio showcase, look at me, I'm awesome, making sure to demonstrate how incredibly talented he and his team were. It was infuriating. But as his talk proceeded, I really became agitated. He was quite flippant and arrogant as he described the process behind his work, and his research was really negligible, if at all. There were no measured results. It wasn't a priority to solve problems necessarily in the way he was describing his work anyway. In fact, he seemed oddly almost giddy, like he was letting us in on some big secret as he explained how little business acumen he possessed, yet how dumb his clients were. They kept coming through his door, letting him do beautiful work. During the Q&A after his talk, he admitted to the crowd that his secret for his firm was being a full-service generalist firm and offering just about any kind of visual communication or marketing design to any kind, size, or caliber of client. And he revealed that his team frequently pursued free pitches and that the clients who hired them didn't see much value in upfront research or deep thinking, but so he didn't bother much with it, instead focusing on making stuff incredibly beautiful so that it would win lots of design words and win him the attention to get more clients. He literally said he didn't care if if his designs worked or not, but he wanted to create beautiful stuff, so he worked for anyone who'd throw money at him. As you can probably imagine, if you're a creative professional yourself, as I sat in the audience, I was seething, and I started to complain from my seat to friends in the audience. And somebody beside me turned and said, "Mark, stop complaining and do something about it." Essentially, he said, shit or get off the pot. So I made 2 vows that night. One was to get involved in the local design association, and actually was president within 2 years. The other was that I was going to take control of our business and the kind of work that we did and who we worked for. The idea of specialization has been bandied about for years. I mean, many predicted the design industry, would break into two primary groups: big multidisciplinary generalists with sheer mass, momentum, and horsepower, and of course smaller, more nimble boutique firms specializing in a particular market or type, design type. Those in the middle would struggle as the industry evolved. Well, times changed. Of course, we know the economy tanked, design has become commoditized and democratized, and competition has increased while buyers have become more informed and expect more for less. So even those mid-sized general practice firms that have remained busy and successful may not yet realize the limitations and challenges that lie ahead if they don't find a strategic advantage. And as the industry continues to change, specialization, we feel, may be the answer for a lot of firms of all types and sizes. On an individual level, fear of specialization is almost visceral. Will we miss out on qualified employee applicants? Will we dry up creatively? Will we go out of business? Many tell me that they avoid specialization because a well-trained designer's process will always lead to the best solutions, not their past experience with a product or a sector or a particular technology. Well, to this I say hogwash. Others argue that too narrow focus will introduce gaps in studio workload, exposing the business to cash flow issues or impede growth, especially if demand for that particular product or service suddenly declines. Fair points, but all can be tackled through a smart strategy and commitment. The arguments in favor of being a quote jack of all trades design generalist, including the broader audience and flexibility that comes with being able to offer diverse services. Ben, I think I hear echo in is your mic on? Sorry about that. Flexibility that comes with being able to offer diverse services to suit any sort of challenge actually seems counterintuitive to me. They sound like expensive and confusing things to juggle in a highly competitive marketplace where everyone is offering full service design at increasingly lower prices. The one aspect of generalization I appreciate most, though, is that it leads to a better foundation for specialization. So there is a place for it. As we considered a focused approach in our own practice, the advantage of specializing seemed to lie in our ability to see what was really going on with our clients, identify the real issues, and guide them toward an authentic expression of who they really are. We found our clients frequently lacked the ability to recognize patterns, anticipate issues, to see opportunities related to marketing or branding issues. We're able to do this with the objectivity of an outsider, with the added efficiency and perspective of being experienced in their business type. Ultimately, repositioning ourselves as specialists became a sales advantage. If you're getting indications that you're losing sales to competition that seems similar to you, want to avoid, derail, or get in the inside track on RFPs, it really might be time to take a closer look. We found we were able to demand higher fees again and charge for the important front-end work instead of focusing on tracking hours or tactical deliverables. The idea of specialization, pardon me, I'm repeating myself. As we in our firm matured, we saw an opportunity to ask better questions of our clients before undertaking the work, to make sure we had the right clients and to aid in the work being more effective. Over the years, we've become 70% strategy and 30% design, really a flip-flop from where we started. And for us, we found staking a claim and focusing our practice on a particular offering and vertical really helped us regain control of our clients, our revenues, and our business, and most importantly, our sense of satisfaction and self-worth. Was it easy? Hell no. And it was actually difficult. I've heard arguments like specialization will evaporate inspiration and hinder creativity and innovation. Staff will get bored. They'll leave if they do the same thing too often. Talented young designers won't join for worry of limited career growth. Building a firm on a specific specialty will be risky due to management or market volatility. Well, this is fear-mongering based on a lot of what-ifs, maybes, and conjecture. What we're really talking about is marketing, which ultimately provides control in your business. And the best marketing is through clear positioning based on a real need in the world, not just cool ideas or stuff we like making. So let's be honest. It's a big step. plenty of industries have taken a leap into a new world of branding, business development, positioning, and marketing. But the AEC sector, where we focus our attention, really seems paralyzed by fear of new approaches, including specialization. As leaders of firms look to the future towards growth and profits, how can they move past these fears and thrive? There are plenty of reasons to consider specialization and focus, from more well-defined audiences to more engaged staff, elevated reputations, and even higher fees and profits. Our experiences in brand strategy, business development, and marketing communications, both from our own growing firm and from our many built environment design firm clients, have resulted in a unique and highly applicable perspective. Our observation has been that young professionals pursue passion projects and will choose to work for firms that have specializations in sectors that they care about, creating dedicated and committed employees. Lack of time, effort, and money are often the roots of fear in specializing, and this is understandable. Maintaining a specialization means constant learning, creating best practices, and being up to date on what makes a particular industry tick or a design typology unique. But if being top of mind and benefiting from word of mouth referrals is what you seek, then specialization really might be worth the effort. Through a humble and honest look at the lessons we've learned transforming our design firm from a full-service studio to a highly focused one, we've identified 6 benefits of specialization that might motivate you to apply this approach in your own practices. So let's go through a few of those now. The first one, positioning reduces competition. For a few years, we started incrementally tightening our messaging around our expertise in brand research, strategy development, and brand identity design. But in time, everyone was calling themselves a brand designer. And isn't a design firm claiming branding as its specialization sort of like a fish saying it's an expert swimmer? Like, who cares? Big deal. As we looked at our own branding, we realized that we were demonstrating some of the same bad habits that many of our clients so often do. Sharing who we are, what we stand for, our vision, our personality, our process. Sound familiar? Our passion. These are all important aspects of brand building, sure, but they're also ubiquitous and often meaningless rhetoric in the barrage of marketing noise out there. Everybody's talking about that stuff. Furthermore, we realized that branding is not the same as positioning. We did have a provably superior offering in terms of our naming process, our brand essence and application framework, and unlike most competitors, we delivered brands as comprehensive living ecosystems by way of a cloud-based digital asset management system that clients deploy and manage internally. We had a solid horizontal, but that wasn't enough. We needed a bolder position, something we could own, something that would reduce our competition and open up other markets. We needed to stake a claim in deep expertise that would position us as the confident and respected strategy and design consultants we knew we were. Number 2, specialization increases creativity and innovation. Many have told us that they resist narrowing their practice because they fear it would decrease creativity. Contrary to old modes of thinking, our experience has shown us that specialization can contribute to increased creativity and innovation, leading to a more highly engaged staff and actually result in more efficient, stable, and profitable business. While specialization is often a reference to a design type in our AEC industry clients' business, of course, that would be like a building type. It can be understood in many different ways in the AEC industry, including client type or location or other things. But creatively, a solid awareness of the challenges a project presents gives firms the confidence and freedom to explore and innovate, putting forth superior work. Number 3, focus saves time and improves collaboration opportunities. There is no stopping the influence of democratization of technology and its effect on all design sectors. But through specialization, firms are offered a chance to reach beyond their own backyards and even improve collaboration opportunities with other firms. In the AEC sector, for example, it's difficult to design all building types well, particularly those that require in-depth research, and specialization gives firms an elevated knowledge base, making your intelligence worth paying for. Discerning clients appreciate knowing their architect or design partners have an intricate understanding of their particular business and market. The time clients save not having to explain their operation, their situational challenges is valuable to them. It offers risk-averse customers peace of mind as they seek reduced uncertainty. Number 4, being specialists leads to avoiding RFPs. Mostly. Who doesn't hate RFPs? Specialization is increasingly a requirement in RFIs, RFQs, RFPs. I'm assuming you folks know what most of those acronyms mean. Basically, letters of intent, qualification responses, proposals. Competition and bidding for work certainly is still very common. It drives us crazy, actually. Specialization can not only help firms win more RFPs, but actually avoid them altogether. Used in conjunction with modern online marketing tactics like lead generation and marketing automation, specialization can actually make business development easier. Specialization reduces the need to chase endless RFPs where differentiation among proposals can be challenging at best. While RFPs aren't going away in the public sector anytime soon, firms with specialization can go into the process with added confidence because they are experts. In some cases, specialization can position a firm as the top choice for a project. Specialization can also make project execution more efficient. Knowing what questions to ask, what pitfalls to watch out for, or drawing from plenty of experience allows firms to be smarter about managing time and money. Specialization means quickly parsing and prioritizing the issues and recognizing opportunities that others might miss. Both potential clients and teams realize cost savings on the business development side as well. Specialization typically means a firm can proactively market their services through content marketing, targeted advertising, and networking to a much more defined audience. So, though you may not have the luxury in your business of avoiding RFPs just yet, you can certainly start working toward that goal. We have. I think Ben's adding a link to an article we wrote about proposals that you might find interesting. So number 5, deeper relationships ensue and your value soars. Specialization in client type or business verticals, in our experience, have led to deeper, more trusting relationships. This ultimately actually results in repeat business. With increasing numbers of engineers and builders offering design services, commodification of design is a serious problem, but specialization addresses it head on. What you know has value, but only if you know something the other firm doesn't. General practice full-service firms face increasing competition and must compete on price, often attracting lower quality clients actually who view them as replaceable vendors. And finally, number 6, focus doesn't mean having to give up your current clients. I know what you're thinking, so let's talk about money. Many firms that we've consulted for feel staking a claim on a particular specialty might result in losing out on all those other revenue opportunities. But specialization isn't a word that negates exception. Even our clients who are thriving as specialty firms frequently take on new challenges and accept projects outside their specialty. But their reputation and marketing efforts are not based on those exceptions. And there's no reason a firm can't focus on multiple specialties as it grows. A hybrid approach perhaps best addresses the greatest fear among firm owners, the bottom line. Designers struggle to fight the urge to take any and all projects that come their way for fear of foregoing revenue. Smart firms layer in specialization, allowing them to seek opportunities in other markets. This ultimately helps flatten the peaks and the dips in resources and cash flow, making the business more stable and sustainable. We've written about this a little bit in an article called "The Key to Growth is Specialization" that Ben's going to be posting in the window for you now. Well, let's be honest. AEC found us. We didn't really find it. For years, we'd been working for professional service firms of various kinds, from product firms like lawyers and accountants. Various architects and engineers started coming along, but it was when we took a hard look and evaluated the state of those sectors that we discovered the opportunity. AEC, or architecture, engineering, and construction industries, were undergoing increasing business challenges, many of the same issues that we face in the design sector, actually. We looked at the work we were doing, what motivated us, what we knew, what few others in our industry and market were focusing on, and what we were good at. With significant changes happening in AEC, especially relating to identity and marketing to increasingly younger audiences with different needs, we discovered there was a real need for our naming and brand design skills within that sector. And in terms of profitability and sustainability, private and public development was a recovering economic sector. We had found a real need in the world, so we made a choice and aimed our focus at AEC. But this came with having to learn how to say no. And we're still struggling with that. In order to really focus our practice, we had to learn to say no. But it goes against every fiber of our being as designers. A huge step for us was to revamp our entire brand to support our new focus, which included removing over a decade's worth of content from our website and marketing materials, and even saying goodbye to our cherished tagline we used to use, "Where Ideas Work," which we thought was quite clever. We replaced it with the positioning statement, "Realizing brand and marketing potential for built environment professionals." There was no turning back at this point. We were claiming publicly to be the brand design team for that sector, period. Now we had to walk the talk and decline work when it didn't fit or distract the team. Early on, it became apparent we were going to have to create a set of criteria by which we could judge and vet opportunities. We did this by setting up a set of rules that happened to all start with the letter P, so we called them the 6 Ps. There's actually an article on our website about that. You can look it up. We don't have time to go into detail here today, but briefly they are people, purpose, potential, profit, perception, and most importantly, positioning. So what we do, the house rule is that during any phase of an engagement, if a member of our staff believes these clients aren't people who respect us and trust us, or we'd enjoy working with them, or if the work has no lasting value or isn't something that we can be proud of, or if it isn't well suited to our team's abilities or availabilities, can't be done profitably, and profit, of course, can be defined many different ways, or has the potential to reflect poorly on us, or there is a strong gut feel that something is amiss, or if the client or project simply won't enhance our portfolio so that it furthers our expertise in the built environment sector, we politely decline the opportunity. As our positioning strengthened and our confidence increased, we had to be careful to balance opportunity with capacity and not ramp up every time we got busy, increasing overheads and driving efficiency and profit down. And like many of you, we still fight the urge to say yes to any work that comes through the door, even if it doesn't match our positioning, because it means we can stay busy and cash positive. But the more we focused on our specialization, the more the right opportunities have come along, and we're able to be more selective about who we work for and what we become known for. Another step we took to solidify our positioning was to reorient our pricing structure in ways that emphasized the benefits of our consulting expertise up front. So, much like architects themselves, for instance, they desire to be allowed to understand context and challenges before designing a thoughtful building, or engineers don't commit to budgets or give recommendations without all the facts and deep thinking required to solve these complex problems. We created a diagnostic audit we call Phase 0. Not Phase 1, Phase 0. We basically stopped answering the question, what should we do? Or how much will it cost? And refused to do any of that front-end research or thinking required to scope out a project for free. We attached a reasonable minimum fee to this phase, and to demonstrate our confidence, we offered all of the findings and recommendations with a money-back guaranteed. That way, we'd figured we'd rather be out, $15,000 or $20,000 than find ourselves down a rabbit hole with a client who didn't understand, didn't respect, or didn't want to work with us. To date, we've never had a single client ask for their money back. Additionally, as we focused our practice, our marketing strategy and tactics changed as well, and it became much easier to reach future customers. Previously, our potential audience was so huge, it was hard to even know where to start to invest our marketing efforts. While it's true that full-service firms can work for a multitude of clients, it's often like pushing wet rope uphill to get their attention, as all your competitors are also marketing to them. After we focused our practice, we were able to identify and target specific communities of prospects with content marketing. With fairly long sales cycles, by the time a prospect picks up the phone or sends us an email, we've already gotten their attention through a variety of means and likely have a relationship. We don't have time to list all the marketing and business development choices we made over the last couple of years, but I'll briefly say that through lead generation and some marketing automation, targeted online marketing and content marketing, and publishing in publications that our clients read, getting involved in their community and working hard on outreach that results in personal relationships, we were able to reposition our firm. And as our reputation as experts focused in servicing that market spread, our past clients became our sales force, referring us to industry colleagues, some of them even allowing us to videotape them, giving testimonials, which we post on our website. Specialization takes practice, and the 10,000 hours it took, this whole concept goes back, of course, decades before Malcolm Gladwell used it in The Outliers. But it really hit home when a business consultant we were working with once asked, "So, are you guys really experts? Have you put in your 10,000 hours yet?" Really? Good point. And it required honesty and humility. Did we deserve a title, specialist or expert, or were we faking it until we made it? I'll admit it was a bit of both for a while. For us, our claim of expertise referred to having been engaged by dozens of built environment firms and working hard to recognize and capture the common challenges of these often partner-led firms with old views of branding, marketing, and business development. Through repeated applications of our evolving process, we started to recognize patterns that allowed us to swiftly understand the realities these clients so often face and provide real value. Over time, we conducted hundreds of staff interviews and industry surveys and collected this data, allowing us to become more informed of the trends and issues in that sector, not to mention the unique vernacular of this community, but also giving us something valuable that we can share with future prospects and clients. At this point, we've invested our 10,000 hours. But did it mean we have all the answers? Didn't have to do the hard work? Absolutely not. We're still learning. But we now have credibility, and we're able to control our role as strategic consultant and expert. Specialization opens doors. It really has for us. It hasn't been easy, but we managed to earn the credibility as deep experts, not only applying brand strategy and design, but as change management consultants in the AEC sector. For us, the benefits of transitioning to a focused practice have been a streamlined and repeatable process that can be systematized and taught, an easier time reaching key audiences and selling our services to them without having to give ideas away, higher rates and more emphasis on the design thinking we provide instead of just output, less competition and a broader reach, increasing confidence, creativity, and innovation, a deeper long-term relationships with clients who trust us and now act as our sales force, and frankly, happiness, satisfaction, and a stable business. Speaking of stable business, we still take on other clients outside of AEC. In fact, a large project in our studio right now is for a high-end outdoor apparel and product manufacturer that I'm pretty sure all of you know. But we make sure our marketing is firmly rooted in what we want to be known for, our ability to help built environment professionals realize brand and marketing potential. Do these other clients care that that's our focus? No, not if we can get the job done for them. The irony about this story is that these days we frequently find ourselves advising our clients to consider specialization too, especially with architects who are design professionals after all. When positioned as experts in certain markets, sectors, building typologies, or technologies, suddenly opportunities in other regions appear. And although RFPs and competitions aren't going away, their success increases as they become known for their superior skills and efficiency. There's a little bit more lessons that we've learned over the years in an article that Ben is going to link to you guys right now. So where's the terror? Look, this process wasn't easy, but designers who specialize are driven, focused business people who refuse to let business happen to them, but grab hold of their own destiny with desirable clients who understand the value of specialization and they're happy to pay for it. And the best part? They'll give you the freedom you need to stay engaged in your profession and treat you like the creative, skilled partner that you are, not a replaceable vendor. And word gets around. In the future, we believe the most successful firms with the greatest levels of business stability and growth will be those that are not afraid to specialize in a meaningful way. Those fearful of saying no to projects and losing out on opportunities, even if not core expertise, will keep things running, but will lose out on the benefits of a strong position and a distinctive reputation. Those firms able to demonstrate thought leadership, knowledge, and expertise will be best positioned to take advantage of these opportunities. Plucking something from the air works no better than hoping you end up where you want to be by pointing blindly at a map. So be smart about choosing a specialty and use real data in your approach if you can. Detect trends in where you're already delivering and what projects you feel most confident executing. Consider what types of projects are actually profitable and are in growth sectors. If there's something you're passionate about that is not appearing on your list, build your portfolio strategically while continuing business as usual until you get there. Look for specializations that are not readily apparent or that may be in an untapped market. This is the best way to set yourself up for success and also ensures you're not spending all your time competing in a saturated market. Find a hole and fill it. We believe specialization can be a smart choice for any design firm. We're not suggesting a radical shift to one specific offering overnight, and we're not saying you have to choose one kind of client to the exclusion of all others. You have a business to run, so make smart choices. If adjustments need to happen in order to survive, then adjust. Who knows? Check back with me in a couple of years and we may have shifted to a new specialization. Maybe we'll be working in the ID sector or something, or whatever it is. We know we'll be focused. Oh yeah, remember that famous Chicago designer I mentioned at the beginning? The guy who made me crazy? Well, recently we were invited to a Southern California head office of a national architecture firm that was growing and needed to completely rebrand, including a new name. After a careful selection process and multiple interviews, it came down to two firms, Industrial Brand and another one from Chicago. You guessed it. That firm was the same one led by that same blowhard big talker who's still a big shot in the industry. When we asked why they awarded the job to us, they said it was our focused practice and deep expertise in their sector. We won the work because we were the specialists, not him. So that brings us to the end of my slides. Ben, you can take it away.
Thanks, Mark. That was great. We just wanted to open it up now to anybody who has questions. We have a few here already. So, Mark, I'm gonna ask you the questions and answer them, or I can answer them too if you want to throw it back to me. But the first question is: have you ever, since choosing to specialize, taken on a client outside of your vertical and regretted it? And you did mention that we have taken clients outside of our vertical, but have you ever regretted doing that? Can't hear you.
Sorry, my thing was on mute. I imagine that our resource manager, who's sitting right beside you, might be chuckling as she overhears this happening, because occasionally what happens is, as sales goals and revenues and the numbers skew one way or another, opportunities come up, and where we're pretty good at saying no and pretty good at rationalizing that and explaining to somebody why we might not be the best fit for them. And by the way, this is an important point that perhaps I should have included in my talk. When you say no, you should never say no. It should actually be more of a polite letdown about why you couldn't best serve them, and with a referral to somebody. It's an important reason to be really well connected and an open relationship with some other vendors who can help them. If you know another firm that actually focuses on their business, that's a really positive moment for you and your brand. For instance, we used to do a lot of work in the restaurant and hospitality business, and we no longer do, other than maybe an occasional fun project. But we have a couple of firms, one in particular in town that we trust, and when a restaurant comes to us and says, hey, can you brand our restaurant and do whatever, as tempting as that is as a foodie, we'll say, no, that's not really our focus. We can't best do that for you, and probably you can't afford us, really, is the honest answer. But here's someone who has really efficient and excellent approach to this. But to answer the question directly, yeah, we take on clients that we regret. I mean, we still have to make good on the promise, and we still have to, in those situations, revert to as efficient and as honorable and as effective a design and production approach as we can. But we've had clients come along. I'm just going to admit that the real estate development sector is one of them that very rarely is it a rewarding, profitable, and efficient process. They're a pain in the ass. They're half the time motivated by all the wrong things and clueless to the efficacy of an authentic brand message. They get in the way constantly, and they have very old traditional views on what works. And unfortunately, we of course live in Vancouver, local ones especially. Good night. I mean, the real estate business is such a gong show here that it almost doesn't matter what we call it or how we make it look. The stuff just sells anyway. So yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Thanks for asking, whoever that was. We learn that lesson every day, and I mentioned it in my talk. We're constantly learning, we're constantly adjusting, we're constantly reminding ourselves that we can't take everybody, and just because we like the person and it's fun and it's local and whatever, that's not always a good idea. You're not really maybe doing them any favors either. if you're not going to be committed to it and feel really good about it.
Great. Another question here is, other than industrial brand, are there any examples of other specialist firms that you can cite?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. There's so many. In our space, so in what I would call the graphic and communication design space, brand identity, packaging design, real estate development, as I mentioned, there are a ton of firms that specifically focus and offer a certain thing. I have a lot of friends all through North America who have benefited greatly from this type of approach, but a lot of them will admit that it kind of found them, just as I said AEC did. We were pretty strategic about pursuing AEC, and we, to the point where we actually, politely fired all of the other clients, right? But I can think of a firm, for instance, my friend Richard owns a firm on Vancouver Island up in the north in Nanaimo, which is a sleepy little, fishing town. There's not a lot going on in Nanaimo if you wanted to start a design firm. My goodness. But a project in labeling for a wine company led to a project for an artisan craft beer company, led to another one. They doubled down, focused on it, and next thing you know, they're the winningest sort of alcohol beverage category packaging design firm in Canada. They're U.S. clients, Canadian clients, all across the board, hiring them. They don't care where they're located. They get fees that far exceed their local competition. Marketing is quite easy because when people are looking for that type of work, it's quite easy to find them. And whereas I'm not really a huge fan of, or I don't see the massive business benefit, the real business benefit of award shows. I'm not a big fan of these beauty pageants award shows. For them, it really works because they get listed as in all of the magazines, and when other agencies, and like I said earlier in my talk, partnership opportunities come up, they get called by other firms, bigger firms, ad agencies and what have you, and they get to work on some pretty skookum projects because they're known as the guys. They do that thing really well. So yeah, there are lots of examples. I mean, there's another firm here that we know that that focuses on a particular type of project. Other ones, like I say, hospitality and restaurants. That's what they do. That is their specialty, and they win the work because of it. And more power to them. I think that's the future of the design industry. Being a freelance graphic designer or running a shop that is all things to all people doesn't work for many people anymore. It's you got to be really, really good. Maybe we're just not that good, Ben.
that example that you were talking about, where they're sort of this firm that's way out in the middle of nowhere on Vancouver Island, it relates to this next question, which is, if you specialize in an industry that does not have a lot of local potential clients, does geographic distance ever get in the way? Like, is it better to find a specialty that is more convenient?
Okay,
that's an interesting question.
That is a really interesting.
It's really interesting.
And I mean, you could answer this question as easily as I can, but I would say that there's a couple things that come to my mind. The honest answer to anyone listening to this is absolutely, like, don't fool yourself. Geography is always going to be an issue, and the reality in the 21st century is, as is demonstrated by us sitting here in Vancouver with Chicago, folks in Chicago and LA, and it doesn't. We don't really need to be in the same room to have a conversation. But what we do, brand design, change management, affecting culture through communications and marketing, business development. These are intimate things. These are often emotional, laborious processes that we go through to produce results through what we offer, and it really works best when there is some analog access, when you can actually be in the room and be there. But so that's always going to be a factor. But when it comes to selecting partners, the emerging class of influencers and decision makers who send out the RFPs and hire these people we're finding more, but of course we're already specialized, we're positioned. But if you can get their attention, and if you can convince them that you have credibility, and that those first or second touches lead to a conversation where trust is born, the odds that we're finding are pretty high that they're going to be like, so it doesn't matter that you live in Vancouver. That's cool. Can you fly down to Chicago, please? Like, that's no big deal. I'll see you in a few hours. Can you get down to LA? That's easy. But it has to be built into your fee structure. You have to be, and this is the other side of it, I want to make sure everyone understands. If you decide to live in Vancouver, as Ben and I have, and we can build a business that does business all over North America from Vancouver, that's fine. We need to be able to, and we do it all the time, hop on an airplane, show up in New York, spend a couple days with these folks, do whatever, bring the work home, do it here, bring it back, show them, have a digital ongoing relationship. But it is fatigue inducing unless you really like to travel, which is nuts. It is a part of this. It is an aspect. But I would say, the advantages outweigh the pain in the ass factor. Wouldn't you say, Ben? I mean, it's like working for clients who really want you and don't care, and then fly you down to Long Beach is more. That's a better relationship than the guy next door. Who cares if you're next door? If you're not paying me what I'm worth and treating me poorly, I don't want to work for the guy just because he's nearby. And I don't really see the advantage on the other side for the clients. Why would you hire someone local if they're not as good?
Yeah, actually, I once described one measure of success and specialization as is quantified by the accumulation of air miles.
We have a lot of air miles.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the truth. I mean, if you're traveling a lot for this, then it's a good thing, because you're actually also you're not as reliant on a local economy in terms of who your clients are, where they're coming from, and it's clear that your reputation as a specialist is spreading, and that your positioning is working if you are actually getting those calls. And even if you're in a major metropolitan center, and in Canada, Vancouver is certainly arguably one of those, it's really great to pick up the phone or get those emails from further afield, because it means that you are actually being effective in your push to specialize.
Yep.
Here's another one. And actually, if you pick a specialty, and you start positioning in that direction, and it's not totally working, can you change it again? Or even how do you know? I mean, we just talked a little bit about some of the measures about how you know whether or not it's effective or not, and how much time you might want to give to something like that in order to make a decision that it's effective or not. Like, how do you?
Oh boy.
What are the
Some smarty pants just asked that question. Thanks a lot. Look, I could imagine a day where industrial brand, and of course it would have to take our team. Certainly, Ben and I would have to be in complete consensus on this. We would have to have some data to support this, and some burning sort of fire in our belly, and the team's support. But if we decided to focus on product design, or we had some special offering that we could offer to like lawyers across North America, and that would be a specialty or something, it could be done. In fact, it would be easier to do now than a few years ago. We could do it. I know how. It would be a checklist we would go through to execute these various things and focus. It would be a lot of work. The odds of that happening for us, pretty low, but it's entirely possible. The other thing, well, I mean, just to sort of leap to a kind of a broader sort of conclusion of what specialization can lead to, is there's actually an interesting trend happening in the design field, the built environment sector especially, where placemaking, naming, branding, storytelling, the narrative that comes along with a lot of the stuff that we do for certainly our architecture and engineering clients is now actually a part of their process. So more realistic for us, as an example, for a future succession plan or exit strategy, or sort of the next phase of our company's future, actually might be cuddling up beside a superstar client who is an outstanding, growing purveyor of built environment design, with us actually being acquired and merging into their operation. I can think of examples of this, where as a sub specialization inside the AEC sector, offering branding as part of placemaking and that type of design actually becomes an even more focused design practice, and that
Yeah.
interests me. That I find that interesting. I mean, I could see us being attached to an architecture firm. And I have friends who owned graphic design, communication design, and branding firms that now are part of a broader architectural integrated design practice.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that you take a look at your current firm reputation, and if you've got success in certain areas, specialist sort of tendencies could also be, one of the questions is, how do you do that, or how do we not give up all of our bread and butter work and things like that? And one of the answers could also be to start a new company, have a spin-off, do a brand that's completely targeted to that one area that you're wanting to specialize in, if it's distinct enough. So that you can kind of create those differences, and you can certainly play off the synergies of some of the operational things that go along with having multiple brands in one company, kind of overseen by the same people. But that's a legitimate way of doing it.
Well, we've actually seen that happen. We have a friend who runs a successful firm down in the U.S. She's actually. It's very interesting. It's a funny story, because her husband is an architect and runs a firm, is a partner in a firm, and her design firm worked for the architectural sector for a while, until she realized that she just really didn't like architects. She likes her husband, but she couldn't stand anyone. If you're listening and you work in the AEC sector, you know what I'm talking about. Architects are an unusual breed. They have a perspective, and they have a self identity, and they can be interesting characters to try to guide. So anyway, she decided that she would get out of that business. But what she did is she produced a bit of IP. She specialized in a service, in a product offering for that sector, spun it off as a separate company, and now offers placemaking, wayfinding, and environmental design specifically to the architectural sector as a separate business, and then focused her practice back on what she did best, and didn't let one distract from the other. So that's an option, and that's something that we if I had a clone of me, we'd probably spin off our managed brand toolkit as well, and offer that as a separate IP in a different business, so it didn't distract from what we were doing. But that's definitely another version of specialization.
That's a good segue into another question here, which is, are there types of specialization in AEC that are more effective than others? Like, where do we start? And maybe I'll take a part of that question as a starting point here. We have clients that specialize in sectors like building typologies, like healthcare or science or that kind of thing, where it's actually really or they've made those steps to that direction already, and they're doing very well, and they're looking at sort of what are the related sectors that we can kind of build our expertise on. And they still probably, like us, do work in other areas. They just maybe don't promote it as much as some of the other work. But the other types of specialization that we come up against are firms that are specializing in a process, or like a multidisciplinary integrated type of firm, which is offering up a specialty in sort of a beginning to end kind of treatment of things, as opposed to like a building typology or a sector focus. I mean, that's a very legitimate kind of specialization, and the clients that we've worked with in that area have had to work really hard in proving what is unique about their integrated specialization, beyond just the fact that they have the disciplines under one roof.
Right.
And so that becomes much more about the kind of work that you need to do behind the scenes in the operation and operational culture to deliver on that brand promise and that positioning, as opposed to just being able to say it like anybody else can say it.
Well said. I have nothing to offer there. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. So that's definitely things to think about. I mean, the other thing is that's really kind of interesting is that a lot of times we are working with firms at a mid-sized level that are growing, that have in their sights and sometimes compete with the largest firms in their sector,
Right.
that are they have like 25 sectors. They have every discipline possible. They're in every country in the world, and that's not a specialist firm, but they've seen
But that's
they're
specialization.
positioned as
Yeah.
well, they're not specialized.
No,
They're
they're positioned well as
position is
huge.
That's right. They can do anything for anybody anywhere. That's their position,
That's right.
and it's very hard to kind of to compete with that if you're not that big and that resourced.
Well, that would be in our
Yeah.
business. That would be if if you're listening and you're a graphic designer, that would be like that'd be talking about Pentagram, for instance, or something. Like offices around the world, everything from nonprofit to huge multinational identity projects, I mean, all kinds of different stuff. Same thing. That their positioning is, we have massive resources and a depth and variety of skill and offering, and that is, that's the anti-specialization. It's positioned as the do all for everyone. everyone.
Yeah, it's true. And I guess the the takeaway from all of this is really it's about how do you build your reputation further afield than your back door to in a certain direction.
Right.
And that's what we've been talking about, and that's really what it comes down to is decommodifying your firm.
Right.
Getting out there and going to the conferences, doing the talks, doing the the thought leadership in the area of your specialization, so that you do have actually something to offer that isn't that isn't considered common.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, folks, I hope this has been interesting, if not valuable, and something that you can take away a few thoughts. If anybody would like to call Ben or I, or
Mark,
email.
Sorry, let's squeeze one more question. We have a little bit of time here.
Okay.
There is one last question we'll get to, and it's just around specialization and employees, and how do you keep employees engaged in a company that sort of specializes. A lot of young employees kind of lose interest quickly doing the same thing over and over again, and that's kind of in their minds what specialization is about, as opposed to always wanting something fresh. And generalists tend to kind of bounce around all over the place, and they're afraid of getting stuck in that rut.
Mm-hmm.
You have any advice around that?
I do, but interestingly, the strongest reaction to that question and answer I want to offer actually has less to do with specialization, although certainly related, and more to do with brand essence. And what we have found increasingly with firms we deal with is the talent acquisition, getting the really good folks in the industry, the youngsters, to join them, and then the powerful, the talented staff they have to stay with them, the retention of talent. This has become an increasingly challenging problem in many markets and sectors, but certainly when design prowess is critical in the architecture field, where technology training is crucial, where the skills that an engineer has are really, that is precisely what's being sold in these firms. So how does one get those people to join a firm, stay at a firm, especially if specialization is at play? I would have to tell you that branding, positioning, and marketing, but really branding it as defined as a reflection of your true self, an expression and manifestation of who you really are, what you stand for, what you aspire to be, what you believe in, your values, and inculcated into the culture of the organization is the motivation and why behind the business, behind the brand, not what you do. If there's too much emphasis on the fact that we do this thing and here's our process and that differentiates us, that's, these days, as the millennials start to rule the world, they're less interested in that. Everybody's making that argument. Everybody's talking about how they do this thing better than that guy, and this is why. And really what there seems to be more and more of a need for, and certainly this is driving our business, is authentic messaging as it relates to why I would bother believing you and following you, why your leadership would motivate me to be loyal to this organization and to this type of work. And I think that what I'm offering and what I'm suggesting to you is, if those things are healthy, if those things are well expressed, I think that if they're already there, the odds are that they're not too hung up on whether you have this particular sector focus or this particular typology or technology focus that you're known for, or this particular positioning, but that they'll feel a compulsion to be loyal and to work for someone who has that kind of power, of that kind of attractiveness. And specialization, of course, then goes hand in hand with that. But Ben, as you know, this is a tremendous amount of the work we do with our clients, is like trying to identify what they really stand for and what they're really doing. And why they do it, why they, as the brand hero, the leader, the CEO, the principal, the whatever, or sort of in a broader sense, why the organization gets out of bed in the morning. What problem does it solve in the world? That's where loyalty is born. That's how you get people to stick with you and be and then the message gets out. Internal culture is where brand lives. Externally, that's where the brand gets spread, and the best talent will arrive. Not because you specialize or don't in a particular area. Does that an okay answer? That's what my heart told me to say.
It sounds like a good place. Authenticity is the root of what a good brand and reputation is all about.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's a great place to wrap up. If there are any more questions, obviously, we are available via email or telephone if you have things that you'd like to talk to us about directly.
Or I could get on an airplane and fly out and see you.
Or we could do that. But I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us today and for your time. And hopefully we've, mostly Mark today has given you some things to think about. We'll be putting this webinar up on our website tomorrow, and I just posted the link there for you if you want to grab it, and look for more webinars soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a whole bunch. Have a great day.